We are at war. Unlike any of those waged during the 20th century, this war, the war against terror online, is one that invades our living rooms, our offices, and threatens every aspect of our daily lives. The 21st century war on terror is being fought on two fronts. Terrorists physically threaten civilians everywhere and nowhere in particular, seeking to shake the foundations of the free world. But the war on terror is taking place in another arena as well, one that doesn't grab headlines, but is as threatening to our way of life as physical attacks. That arena is the digital information environment and the internet. Of course, war and technology have always walked hand in hand. War has often spurred the creation of new technologies that have benefited us later in peacetime. The internet itself was born out of a desire by the military to have secure means of communication with our allies. But the extension of the war on terror into cyberspace is not just another development of the marriage between war and technology. Fighting terrorism today is unlike any other war in history, in large part because of the unique power of the digital environment and its impact on our individual lives. Internet communication is the engine of civilization in postmodern times, and threats to its integrity threaten us all. In our new book, Fighting Terror Online, we address the major question: how do societies respond to these threats? Traditionally, governments have passed laws to regulate behavior in an attempt to control and contain misconduct. But that's an approach that may work in an environment where individuals are subordinate to the state. But what do you do when physical boundaries matter less and less? When nameless individuals wreak havoc in a virtual environment that is not controlled by any governing body? Does the law have the ability to regulate technology in its efforts to assist law enforcement agencies in the online war on terror? And if the law does have the ability, should it exercise this ability? If so, in what manner and to what degree? Cyber terrorists use the internet to cause loss of life and property in order to promote propaganda and political goals. They can try to destroy our financial system, take over air traffic control, or paralyze transportation and communication networks. We are vulnerable because in the age of information, it is information systems that run our infrastructure. Terror propaganda uses and abuses freedom of speech and freedom of press to sow fear in the target group, to curry favor in the court of public opinion, to distort government responses, and to mobilize support by fundraising and recruiting supporters. And of course, to a certain degree, we play right into their hands by giving them lots of free publicity in the mass media, giving them exactly what they want, what Margaret Thatcher called the oxygen of publicity. The more coverage they get, the greater the potential for acts of terror. But how do we shut down this vicious cycle without doing tremendous damage to our democratic values? We can lock up data with passwords and with technology tools such as encryption. But what happens when encryption tools, which are readily available in the open market, are used by hostile groups to coordinate their activities and shield them from the government's eyes? Should we regulate the use of encryption programs even if we could? What kind of chilling effect would the lack of secure communications have on research and development in both the private and the public sectors? Actually, the pros and cons of regulating encryption reflect the basic questions related to fighting terror online. How do we balance security needs and individual rights? For surely, if there are any prisoners of war in this new online struggle against terror, they are the democratic freedoms that we cherish, the right to privacy and the right to freedom of expression. The terrorists have taken these freedoms hostage and are daring us to find an equitable way of balancing human rights with social needs. The provisions of the law have changed rapidly since September 11th. Statutes and regulations have been revised, reinterpreted, and redefined throughout the democratic world. While the particulars of the law will vary, the fundamental issues, dilemmas, and questions raised here will last far into the coming decades. The evolution of technology, breakthroughs in scientific research, and the relentless determination to fight the evil of terror must lead us, our children, and our children's children to find the solutions necessary to protect the individual and society from harm, and at the same time, balance security and civil liberties. It is a challenge we must meet and a fight that we must win.